Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again with their final Cataclysm card review. We just had the big reveal stream with Brian, Kibler, and Cora, and there's like over 20 cards to review, like 3 legendaries, I think, a ton of stuff, some insanity, some whateverness, and the most expensive rogue minion ever, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, or at least tied for it. Anyways, we're gonna review these cards. You wanna win these cards? We're giving away 2 regular pre-orders and 2 mega bundles out of my pocket to enter the giveaway. Like and comment in the video, link down description below, the one with that thumbnail over there. Be subscribed to the channel. Every 1,000 subs we get until the rewards track refresh blog goes live, which I believe is next week. I want another mega bundle, so hit that sub button. Make me go Baroque. So let's go class by class. I think that's the easiest way to do it. Starting with Deathlight, we have the Black Wing Experiment, a 2 mana, 3/1 dragon, undead dragon, 1 frost rune required on this card. With Death Rattle, get a 2-cost spell that deals this minion's attack damage. I believe it's called Dragon Breath. And you can obviously scale this with hand buffing, and we have seen some hand buff support already, in particular like a double frost and unholy style combo, or the other way around, I'm not sure. Regardless, it's gonna be something like that, and yeah, already you're getting basically a frostbolt out of this, right? If it hasn't been debuffed, 3 attack and it just goes up from there. Could be nice burn, but you really do want to hand buff this and, you know, utilize that burn to an extent. But if a hand buff Deathlight's gonna work out, I feel like this is a decent addition to it. Already saw like the hand targeting mechanic of like buffing either a minion on the board or in your hand, or just on top of that, that new weapon, right? You play this swing with that new weapon. Could be all right. I'll get us a 3 out of 5 in standard, a 2 in wild, where burn is good, but delayed slow hand buff burn, not so sure on that. But in standard, this could scale pretty high, or give this like infinite attack somehow, right? I'm sure there's a way. I'm sure Mark will find a way to give this infinite attack and then get an infinite burn spell, and I can't wait to see it. And then we get Chow Down, an 8 mana, double unholy spell, no spell school on it. You summon 5/5/4 undead drake. So right out, you're getting 8 mana, 40/32 in stats for 8 mana. That's kind of a lot, no? Is that not quite a lot? You spend 8 corpses to give them rush. So yeah, you have 8 corpses to spend, you get 5/4s, they all attack in. I don't believe they have any keywords. Yeah, they're just called Hungry Drakes, no keyword or anything like that. It's a ton of stats. It's kind of reminiscent almost of like Scale of Onyxia for Druid back in the day. 1 more mana, you get thicker boys, and you do need to spend corpses to give them rush. If you don't have the rush, probably not worth it. I feel like if Elise is still going to be a meta card, this could be an Elise activator at 8 mana. That could very well be a realistic thing for those type of like tokeny decks. And with the whole like giant rotating out, there's not a lot of great incentive to spend corpses. And I'm sorry, that quest they have, you don't want the reward. I don't care what enables getting you to that reward, you don't want it really, but it's probably too slow, probably a bit too expensive, and the double unholy really does hurt this a considerable amount. But maybe yeah, double unholy blood deck or frost deck, maybe they want to play it. It's borderline. I'll give it a 2 out of 5 in standard, a 1 in wild where it's astronomically too slow, but it is a lot of stats and it can be proactive. So this could be more of a 3-star card. It could have a chance. Next, we have maybe my favorite card of the batch, and it's Demon Hunter, which is weird for me considering I don't like Demon Hunter, but we have the legendary location here, Nespra Enthrall. This is such a cool card. 3 mana, 5 durability location. You deal 1 damage, so you can pick wherever that 1 damage goes. Overall, you're dealing 5 damage for 3 mana. It's not even that great, especially you gotta wait. However, after you cast a fell spell, reopen. So as long as you got lots of fell spells, you could do this all in 1 turn, right? You could do it all in 1 turn. And then it has Death Rattle, summon Nespra Unshackled. And what is that? Well, it is a 6 mana 6/6 beast, which is summoned. You don't get it added to your hand, you just summon it. After you cast a fell spell, get a random Naga. It costs 1. So you saved up a bunch of fell spells for when you break that location open. You can just cheat out, get a bunch of random Nagas, like, I don't know, a colossal Naga. That is technically, you can create that. You can't randomly summon it, but you can create it. And if you're already playing a bunch of heralds, that could be really good. Just a ton of value, ton of mana cheat. You never know what it can do. And what I like about this card, why I think it's cool, besides the fact epic mana cheat, you all know I love that, is that this can go in to no minion Demon Hunter. It's not a minion, right? So that deck already could play a bit of Fel spells. It got a bunch of new ones. You could add that into that deck, which I just find that deck to be really fun. That seems like a really good tool for it. Or this spawns like its own Fel deck. Maybe there's like a Fel Herald style of deck out there you're looking for that is quite the possibility. I just think it's a really cool card. I don't know how realistic it is. Obviously, it's only good if you're playing a bunch of Fel spells. Otherwise, you're not really doing much with it. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. I mean, it's 3 mana, 5 durability, 3 out of 5 in standard. And can you guess it? Can you guess what I'm gonna give it a wild, even though you have like the sharpshooter thing and all that, but you don't really want to combine it, I think, with, you know, Fel spells. I'll give it a 1, too slow. The pool's a lot bigger there, but yeah, quite the card. We also have a Naga you can create out of this, the Ravenous Felfisher. No, not more Ravenous cards. It's a 6 mana 5/5 Naga that costs 1 less for each Fel spell you've cast this game. So if you've reopened that location like 5 times with Fel spells, this is like 1 mana, right? You could get this down to 0. And I feel like, what, 3 spells? This is down to 3 mana. Pretty reasonable. If there's a decent Fel deck out there, they're probably going to want to play this. And it finally feels like that 4 mana 4/4 that's been sitting there for quite a while, not doing a lot in standard, that I keep saying it's a good card, doesn't have a home. Feel like it might have a home. And no, you can't play this in no minion DH, but maybe it spawns its own little archetype. The only issue is this doesn't really have rush or any proactive effect. It's purely just stat. In fact, it can come down for 0 at a pretty reasonable rate. I'll give it a 3 out of 5 in standard, and in wild, where there is a lot of cheap Fel spells, maybe, just maybe, probably not. I'll give it a 2 there, but maybe has a better chance with it. Like, there's so, like, just Unleash Fel in particular, such an insane cheap spell in wild that you have to look out for that to an extent. And we also have the Malevolent Mutant, a 3 mana 3/4 Naga, so another Naga we can generate with Battle Cry. Choose a Fel spell in your hand, get a copy of it. So this is just a guaranteed way to get more Fel spells to either discount that minion, get more random Nagas, you know, open that location. And if it's, you know, discounted by the 4-drop we talked about, then the copy will also be discounted. So really solid. You're getting a premium statted card here that gets to double up possibly on not only a spell, but mana cheat. I could see this, again, going into some style of Naga, Fel, Demon Hunter. Maybe it will all go together with that Herald stuff, because I even think one of the, I'm not sure, I'm not looking at right now, one of the Herald spells, the Lifesteal one, it might be Fel. I'll put the image there. You'll know if I'm right or wrong. Regardless, seems really good to me. This seems like a really good card. I'll give it a 4 out of 5 in standard and a 2 out of 5 in wild, where again, maybe another copy of Unleash Fel, maybe like Moarg is going to be, not Moarg, Il'gynoth will be a thing. It went with Moarg back in the day. So yeah, Demon Hunter, man, they got a really good set this expansion in my opinion. On to Druid, we have the Crystal Spine Cub, an absolutely adorable beast. It's a 1 mana 1/2. Whenever you spend your last mana crystal, gain +1/+1. So yeah, you play this, and then if it sticks around, if you play 2 mana the next turn on turn 2, it'll become a 2 and 3. Whenever you coin out a 1, I feel like you'd be spending your last mana again. So maybe you give it another buff. So that could be pretty good. You could actually, I feel like that would work, that you could buff it multiple times in a turn. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be on that one, but it's a bit of a snowball minion, but the fact it can only get +1/+1, doesn't have taunt, doesn't have any immediate effect. Pretty middling card. It's okay. Maybe a token deck would like it just because, yeah, it'll grow right away. It's basically starting right away out on turn 1, or you play in turn 2 with like a 1-drop. It's a 1 mana 2/3, and that can get even bigger. Like, it's got a bit of a shot. It just feels like early stats, unless they're like really synergistic or really incredible, don't see the light of day these days. So I'll give it a 2 out of 5 in standard, a 2 out of 5 in wild. It has a shot, but I feel like it'll just miss the cut. We have the Iridescent Flitterwing, a 5 mana 4/5 dragon, another dragon for Druid. It has elusive. At the end of your turn, give your other minions +1/+1. So it's like Mark of the Lotus on a stick, and it is elusive itself, so not the easiest thing to remove. It does not buff itself. It's your other minions, unlike that Nas Paladin card. What are we doing with that one? Seems okay, but pretty expensive. Again, needs to go to a tokeny deck. There does seem to be a lot of this going on, especially with the new Colossal, right? You can buff up that Colossal, and all those parts, if they're buffed, they also increase the size of the major part of it. So there's a possibility, but overall, I feel like at 5 mana, this might be a bit too slow. We'll see. I don't think it's unplayable. It might make the cut, but I'm going to lean more towards, again, a 2 out of 5 in Standard and a 2 out of 5 in Wild, where we do like to buff stuff, but we have Arbor Up in that format, and Arbor Up is insane, and it doesn't even see play in the Treant Druid, I think, right now. It might. I'm not sure. I think it's just like Cultivation, but regardless, doesn't quite make the cut in that format either. We have the Moss Binding, a 2 mana nature spell where you summon 2 1/2 golems, and I believe they are just stats. There's no tribe, no keyword on it. You spend all your mana to give them +1/+1 for each mana spent. So this is one of those weird ones where it gets bigger in the late game, but it'll spend all your mana after you play this. So like, I believe on turn 10, and you have like 10 mana or whatever, you would give them +8/+8, right? You'd spend 8 mana. If you spend no mana, it'll just be 2/1/2. So you can't really play anything else alongside it. It's just a stat bomb. And I'm not entirely sure this seems all that great. Again, there's no keyword on these cards. It is nature, so maybe Imbue Druid emerges as something after rotation, which it certainly could. But to me, it's probably more of a fringe card that maybe it slots into a spell-heavy deck, token-heavy deck, but probably doesn't make the cut. So in Standard, a 2. In Wild, where it's just too slow, I'll give it a 1. Maybe if there were Treants, I would give it more of a shot. And we also have the Forest Gift, a 2 mana nature spell, so a lot of Imbue Druid possibilities this expansion. Give a friendly minion +1/+1 for each minion you control. So you have a bunch of tokens on the board, and you can get +7/+7 if you have 7 minions on the board. This does not give any, I guess it's always going to give +1/+1 because you always have to have a minion on the board to buff this, right? And it's only friendly. You can't accidentally target the opponent's stuff. So if a wide Druid deck is consistently meta, this could see some play. It's pretty cheap to be able to apply to that Colossal and put on one of the extended part, the appendages or whatever, and then buff the other, like double dip on the buff. That could be really good. The fact it's so cheap, then if you can realistically get a Quest Druid style deck going or a token Imbue Druid deck going, this is pretty solid. It's pretty solid. It can be a lot of stats. I'll give this a 3 out of 5 in Standard and a 3 out of 5 in Wild. Just a Treant Druid deck that's been running rampant. I feel like this could be like burst for it, right? You got 5 Treants, you just slap this onto one and smork. This could be a wild card. So I'll give it a 3 in both formats. Next, we move on to Mage with the Winter Spring Whelp, another Mage Dragon we can resummon, although it's a 1 mana 1/2 Battle Cry. Discover a 1-cost spell from any class. That includes Mage. You could see Mage spells, but Rogue, Demon Hunter, Deathlight, whatever. That's pretty good. And of course, with the Quest, which is lacking support now with rotation, it's something you could throw in there, but it's a 1 mana 1/2, gain some value. Like, that's just a solid card. It's got the dragon synergies going on. I could just see this slotting into a ton of like Mage decks just for early game, right? Like, it's a good, solid minion. It might give you a high roll from that spell, or it might give you like basically nothing. It doesn't really matter that much when you're getting a bit of board presence of value. Really solid card. I'll give it a 4 out of 5 in Standard, and in Wild, where value and board presence in Mage does not really matter at all, I will give it a 1. We also have the new Shatter card for Mage, the Arcane Flow. 4 mana, so Shatter, deal 4 damage and deal 2 damage to all enemies. So that's effectively 6 damage that could go face without spell damage, and then like a consecration effect. Obviously, when it enters your hand, it will be split up into deal 4 damage, which is not great, deal 2 damage to all enemies, which is okay. And obviously, the big part of the expansion for Mage is spell damage. You give this +1 spell damage with the Legendary, all of a sudden it's deal 5 damage, deal 3 to all enemies. It's looking a lot better on each part. It is a worse Fireball and all that, but we have the Fabled package that can manipulate arcane spells. can be all right. I just feel like deal 4 damage is really rough. I feel like do 2 damage to all enemies can be okay, but you really want to amplify this with spell damage. And I do think Mage is going to be wanting to do that. And we have multiple cards that can buff this. You got the Legendary and that neutral 3 drop. So I think it could see some play. We'll see. It's definitely on the fringe. I'll give it a 3 in standard. Obviously a 1 in wild where it is way too slow. And we have the Conjuration Specialist, a 3 mana 3/4 epic minion. Battle Cry, choose a spell in your hand. Split it into 2 random spells of the same cost. So you could just get random crap. You could play this, get random crap, and see what happens. On average, without a mana cheat aspect to this card, you're purely just getting spells at the same cost. It is likely not going to be a consistent enough card I want to play in my deck. You get 2 of them, right? You do get 2 random spells for the cost of 1. So maybe I want to play this with like 0 mana and get like prep, or I don't know, the discard the 0 mana Warlock spell or something. Maybe there's like 1 mana cost that's just really good to hit. Other than that, I don't see it. I'm giving this a 2 out of 5 in standard. It is premium stats plus value. I'm not going to give it a 1, but in wild, I will definitely give it a 1. Moving on to Rogue, and Rogue has such a weird set this expansion. Starting off with a card that maybe you would have wanted a Shadow Step, an Agent of the Old Ones, a 1 mana 2/1 demon, incredible artwork. Battle Cry, you choose a card in your hand to transform into a coin. So you get to pick, you don't have to like randomly turn your win condition into a coin, but this could be a way of cheating out to something big, right? You change just a middling, whatever random card maybe you got from your Imbue hero power that's not so good, or from your Herald, from your Colossal is not so good. Maybe I want to turn that into a coin instead so I could cheat out like an Shaman or something big, right? Or just enable combos. That's pretty good. And again, with Shadow Step, you could have played this and gotten like 2 or 3 coins early and then cheat out something big, but you can't do that anymore in standard. You can in wild. In standard, I'll give this a 3. I just feel like anytime Rogue has ways to get coins, they almost always see play for the most part, outside of like, you know, the Hooktail or whatever it's called. Although I don't see play because it's a 5 drop, but it might have a shot for certain decks. And in wild, I'll give it a 2. Although getting coins there could be really nice too. You got the Wishing Well, right? But just, you know, in general, to cheat mana might have a shot, but probably more of a fringe card. Yeah, and this card here, the Twilight Mistress, a 9 mana 4/12 dragon. I don't believe Rogue has ever had a card cost more than 9 mana. I think a Nubarak might have been 9 at some point, or they might have had 9 mana minions they could discount, but this is flat out 9 mana, return all enemy minions to their owner's hand. This is toxic as hell. So this is basically a sap on everything. It's a one-sided vanish, and you're left with Twilight Mistress. It'll resolve, you know, death rattles are there. They're not going to go off unless their hand is full and it dies, right? We know that interaction. That can happen, but it's a pretty crazy board clear basically, right? But it's 9 mana. It's just a 4/12 itself, and there's only so many bounces if you want to like keep bouncing your opponent's board. So you can't Shadow Step this and do it again. You would have to prep Web of Deception, have Waggle Pick set up, or have Ysera, or have Coin Web of Deception, right? So this might be one of those cards. Maybe that Shadow Step could have held back. We don't know. I feel like a lot of the cards that will be designed with the design space Shadow Step will open up won't come out, you know, right away. I don't think that was a decision they made like a year in advance. So we'll see, but it's certainly a card I look at that I'm happy Step isn't around for. But Rogue typically doesn't play stuff like this, but they get coins, ways to get out to this. Thankfully, no Sandbox Scoundrel. I'll give it a 2 out of 5 in standard. A 2 out of 5 in wild, but you never know. This effect can be pretty insane. Even if it's on a 9 drop, you just never know. It's pretty darn scary. And speaking of returning minions to your opponent's hand, Rogue also gets Daze, another shadow spell for insane kindred card. 3 mana or 1 mana with prep. Return an enemy minion to its owner's hand. So this is just like Sap, except they can't play it next turn. So it's more punishing than a Sap, right? You have put it back, and then they have to wait a turn to play it. Could be pretty good, pretty annoying on like a big minion, big death rattle minion. Maybe not the best sort of Colossal because they'll get the effect, but they do have to wait a turn, right? So Sap didn't see much play in Rogue when it was back in the core set. I don't even know when that was, but I remember it came back for a bit. It saw like almost no play. I don't know if this will at 3 mana. Sure, the turn, like the delayed turn can be all right, but maybe we're going for like control, disruption, toxic Rogue with all these like eating cards and sapping cards. Pretty nasty stuff. I'll give it a 3. It has a chance. You never know with these type of effects. And then Wild, I'll give it a 2 because it's too slow. And the combo decks don't care if you sap you because you're dead when they play their cards. And we also have the Chaos Supplicant, a 4 mana 3/5 rogue minion. After you cast a spell, cast a random spell of the same cost for another class. So you could throw this into your colossal deck that's generating all these random spells and then play this and hope for the best. It's kind of like that elusive mage minion where you would cast a spell and I think it would cast a spell of 1 more. It's something like this. It's something resembling this, and I don't know if it works with the actual Colossal itself. Regardless, I don't think this is a good card. I don't think it's great at all, but it can lead to some fun highlights. And in Arena, if this sticks around, it's not too bad, but Constructed, I'm giving it a 1 out of 5 in Standard, a 1 out of 5 in Wild. Now for Shaman, we have some support. We have some air support, a 5 mana 5/5 minion. Give a friendly minion Mega Wind Fury. That is the first time actually I think you can specifically pick a card to give Mega Wind Fury. It can't attack heroes, so you can't slap this onto a charger, a high attack minion. It can only attack like multiple times into stuff on the board. Could be good with that 9 mana draw spell, right? We saw that. That could attack a bunch of times, 4 times, make that -4 mana. It also to survive all the attacks, which is not super likely. And also, I guess, could be good with like cards that have random attack effects. Like I think it's rotating or isn't in Standard, but like the Ogre card that has like 50% chance to attack whatever. Or I guess if you have this with Noggin Fogger on the board, which is in the core set, it could theoretically go face with whatever it's buffing. So again, we got Mark shenanigans here, but overall, really expensive for this style effect that can't even go face. I'm giving this a 1 out of 5 in Standard, a 1 out of 5 in Wild, where even Charge is there, but if it can't attack heroes, it is not super useful. We have a new nature spell for Shaman, Ascendance, 4 mana. You transform all friendly minions into ones that cost 1 more. So it's evolve for 3 times the mana. However, they summon the originals when they die. So basically you'll evolve your board, and when those evolved minions die, you will get back the minions you had before. I don't think they'll retain their old health. I believe they should just come back normal. It's usually how these type of cards work. So really, really expensive, and it could be game winning if you hit like a wide board and it's really resilient. Not only do you maybe get a bunch of big stuff, but then they also get the little stuff that you evolved into could be all right, but feels very expensive, feels very optimistic in both Standard and Wild. It gets a 1 from me, but you know what? Most evolved cards have seen play. We even saw like the Wave of Nostalgia at 5 mana see play, so maybe I'm wrong on this with the right token board, especially with the Herald packaging and you're getting all these tokens all the time. Maybe you do play there. You know what? I've taught myself into bumping it up to a 2 out of 5 in Standard. Maybe I'm underrating it. I feel like I always underrate these. And in Wild, I'll give it a 1 because that strategy evolves Shaman. I don't remember the last time I saw that in Wild. I don't think this will make it come back. And then yes, we have a new 4 mana 7/7 minion for Shaman. The flavor is unbelievable on this. And it has Death Rattle. Unlock your overloaded mana crystals. This overloads you for 3. So it overloads you 1 more than the old one, right? However, if your opponent just ignores it, then I guess you're stuck with less mana. However, they're doing that, they might take a bunch of damage. And if they kill it, well, they unlocked your mana crystals and you just played 4 mana 7/7 with no downside, right? So I feel like most people would just ignore it. Like 7 attack is typically not enough to warrant you to give your opponent mana, because again, they're gonna be pretty limited the next turn if you just flat out ignore it. It doesn't have taunt or anything like that. So I still feel like this probably doesn't see play, but it's as close as it's gonna get for a 4-mana 7/7 Overload 3 to see play. But I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5 in standard, where I feel like maybe it's got a shot, or you destroy it yourself to unlock your mana crystals with all these other Overload cards going on, right? We got that Overload card, we get the taunt, the Hornswoggle card. Wait, is that the WWE wrestler? Regardless, you know what I mean, right? There are synergies out there for it, and this is 3 crystals, so that'd be -3. Maybe there's something for it. So again, I'll give it a 2. I think it might have a chance, but in Wild, yeah, I'll give it a 1, even though there's a lot more Overload synergies there. Oh no, we're on to Warlock, and yes, selective discard is also coming to Warlock in the Ocular Oculist, a 3-mana 3/6 demon with taunt, battle cry, choose a card in your hand to discard. You can pick whatever you want. We'll talk about Wild in a second, but in standard, not a ton of huge payoffs. We saw that 2-mana spell that can give you some 1-drops, right? That's from this expansion. We saw the 4-mana Rusher that gets bigger for every card you've discarded. Even if it's on the board, it's not a battle cry, so it can grow. But I just feel like there's not enough discard stuff to make it worth it, even with the legendary we'll see in a second here, that I'm not convinced discard Warlock will be a thing in standard yet. But you know they're going to give them more support, which is not something a Wild player wants to hear. I feel like it's pretty close. It's a premium statted minion that might just have a really good upside of discarding, right? Like it's upside on upside, which is pretty good. I'll give it a 2 out of 5 in standard, borderline 3 out of 5, where if that discard stuff comes together there, it is just a great card, right? It's a great card. I'm just not sure the support's there. And you know, the deal in Wild, yes, Soul Barrage just got nerfed, but that deck is still pretty good. And again, another card you can use to pick a card like Soul Barrage, or, you know, the Hand of Gul'dan, or whatever it's called. 4 out of 5 in Wild. I don't think it's breaking Wild, but it's making a deck that just got pretty heavily nerfed really a lot better, and we'll see what it looks like with the 2 selective discard cards we're seeing coming up with this expansion. And speaking of that, we have Maloriak, a 7-mana 7/7 dragon that reads, after you discard a minion, you summon a copy of it. So with selective discard, you can have this card on the board and then, you know, discard a big minion and it gets to be copied and on the board, right? It's a copy of it too. You get to keep the original version. It's not playing and consuming it. So that's extra value. I'm just thinking of what's the big guy in Wild where he adds all the cards you've discarded and you can spend your health instead. Like there's got to be something ridiculous in Wild combo wise for that. It just, for standard, it feels expensive. There's not that much selective discard. Like Doomguard is still 5 mana, so hard to manipulate that. But you never know. It could be a potential huge mana cheat card that could do silly things. I'll give it a 3 out of 5 in standard. And in Wild, where I just think it's probably too expensive, even with some of the silliness, maybe somebody figures out a gross combo I'm not thinking of. I'll give it a 2 there, but there's more potential for it in Wild. But I think maybe power level wise, it might see more immediate play in standard. And then lastly, we have Warrior with the Destructive Blaze, a 5-mana 3/3 elemental. After this survives damage, summon a Destructive Blaze. Death Rattle, deal 2 damage to a random enemy. So this is like Grim Patron, except with a Death Rattle element to it, where every time one of these die, it'll go pew pew for 2 damage. It can go face. So if you have a lot of whirlwind effects, you could set up a really large board of these annoying minions. And if your opponent doesn't have a great clear that does like, what, 3 or more, this is just going to snowball more and more. I don't know if we're going to see the return of Grim Patron Warrior in terms of a Destructive Blaze, but I know it has historically seen play. It's just been a very, very long time. And there are, again, we've got one Weird Fury effect this expansion already, plus we have that Forefather weapon. I don't think there's enough for this to work out, but maybe just slap this into like the Herald Ragnaros deck that already wants to try and self-damage a bit and wants to deal all these death rattles. Maybe it has a shot, but I think it probably won't make the cut. So in standard a 2, in Wild a 2, and last but certainly not least, we have the Warrior legendary minion, Commander Geddon, a 7-mana 7/7 elemental, and it's got a weird ass battle cry. Battle cry, instead of drawing each turn, discover a card from your deck. It costs 3 less. Destroy the other. So you're going to start fatiguing with this card, but you're going to be able to pick what you draw. So that would be quite nice. Plus, you're getting a bunch of mana cheat with it. But yeah, the other two options that you don't pick will be destroyed. They're gone. You can't use them. And I guess if Kill Jaden was around, you could just get demons for even cheaper and it wouldn't matter. Maybe this leads to like that 5 mana 5/5 card where you can like discard your opponent's top decks, right? Or their top 5 cards if you destroyed your deck. Like, it's just a weird one. It can enable some combos, maybe. I just don't know what exactly you're doing. It just feels, this feels duels to me more than a standard card. It reminds me of that spell that got nerfed like 80 times for Mage that like destroyed your deck, and then you could discover a copy of a card from your deck. Obviously that went infinite, you didn't fatigue or anything, but still, it's a weird one. I have no idea how to evaluate it, but just for the fun, the flavor of it, and what, you know, mass mana cheat it could possibly do, I'll give it a 3. It could enable some silliness. You never know. And while they'll give it a 3, because I could see like a Reno deck or just something silly utilizing this in a kind of a weird way where Renathal Warriors are playable in that format, and maybe Commander Geddon is something you want there. So this could be playable in both formats. So there you go. A lot of cards, but that is it. That is every card from this expansion. We have lots of stuff planned. We're going to talk about events coming up probably tomorrow. We'll have a tier list of every legendary. We're going to have theory crafting gameplay. We're going to have the best cards, the worst cards. We'll have the whole rewards track refresh, patch notes, balanced patch stuff. Tons of content coming up over the next week or so. So make sure to stay tuned. And if you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.